Good morning, 7:22 a.m. on August 9th, 2021. Just making this video here instead of on my other channel. Because no one watches this channel. Um, been doing videos because I feel completely lonely. I feel isolated. I feel like I can't talk to anyone. I feel misunderstood. I feel invisible. I feel like I'm not heard. I feel sad and I feel like I have no one to talk to, so I just make these videos and talk to myself. It's hard. It's like I had someone for 2.5 years, and at the end, it wasn't every day, but at first, about 2 years, pretty much every day, I had someone to talk to. I mean, he didn't listen. I mean, especially the last 6 months, he would just tell me to shut up. He wouldn't listen to my day. He didn't care. He'd say he didn't care. He'd ask me, "How are you?" And I'd start to answer the question, and then he'd say, "I don't care how you are." I would only talk about what he wanted to talk about. And I was definitely influenced by those ideas and opinions. And those have really been challenged. And I've just done a lot of work. And I don't even think my friends know what I'm going through right now. How difficult it is for me to do all the things that I need to do and that I feel strongly convicted. I'm trying to get one last thing taken care of. I've already had to make 3 phone calls this morning to try to figure out how to take care of it. And no, it has nothing to do that we are not in business hours yet. It has to do with the laws that are in place and who they protect and how difficult it is. And before you ask me if I have an advocate, I do. And then they just told me the same process. Go online, fill this out, file this. And then when I go to do it, I just decided it's not worth it because it causes me more emotional distress and energy than I have to give. And I can take that emotional, distress and turn it into something more positive of fighting for um, really the laws to be changed. That's what I'm fighting for, than just my personal thing, which I've already been told isn't going to go anywhere. So that didn't give me a lot of hope. And it was the one female officer that I've spoken to, and all the police that I've talked to that said this isn't going to go anywhere. Well, it is going to go somewhere. It's going to go somewhere, and it's not, the law isn't going to it isn't going to be changed in order for me to make a difference in me personally in my current situation. Unfortunately, it's not going to change um, for an individual that's out there on the streets of St. Paul that is a alleged predator, and it's literally close to home. It's someone who's an associate of my ex-boyfriend's, and my ex-boyfriend's own stuff. And it's like I literally can't talk about it. Oh, I quit using that word literally. I can't talk about it to anyone because of all these trigger content warnings. Like, this is my clean channel, so I'm doing my best not to swear. I'm doing my best not to get angry or to rage. Like, I save that for my other channel if I'm going to videotype myself um, using that kind of energy and that kind of anger. And it's like my church is really sensitive to cultural and vulnerability, and like it's really good at providing outside resources I already have outside resources. Even though I'm getting the runaround with this, it's like I know how to do that. Anybody in my situation would get a runaround, even the advocates. You know, because they're just being misunderstood, and the person on the phone, it's like their job is to give a resource. It's not their job to listen to the situation, and so they just try to ascertain as fast as they can to tell you what website to go to or tell you what to do, and then hang up and move on. And it's like I already know these processes secondhand. Like if I'm going to file a complaint against a police officer, please, the city of St. Paul Internal Affairs, are you kidding me? All that happens is they take the complaint. It can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months for them to even process it. And then goodness knows how long for them to come back and say that the officer did nothing wrong. And I don't have the exact statistic, but I could find that out if I wanted to do a FOIA request. Um, no complaints come back valid. I mean, none. The last time I did check, it was one, and it was an internal complaint. A police officer complaining about another police officer. And they don't do that because of the thin blue line. And this isn't a thin blue line issue. It's not a thin blue line. It's not conservative versus Democrat. It's not conservative versus Democrat. It's not conservative versus liberal, Republican versus Democrat. It's not the government versus the people. It is the weak, the disabled, the abused, the elderly, and predators. No in between. No in between. Which side are you on? And I've asked people to take a side, and someone steps up to defend a predator, to even if it's alleged, to talk about, oh, well, the government does this, especially when something's on videotape. The videotape doesn't lie. However, if you watch the George Floyd trial, which I watched 90% of, that was heavily videotaped. Just briefly, if you don't know who George Floyd is, Google it. But there were all the bystanders that came at different times. The person who started videotaping was Daniela Frazier. There's 8 minutes and 29 seconds, or 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And then it was later determined that it was 9 minutes and 29 seconds that the murderer kneeled on George Floyd's neck. So we have all these cameras. We have the footage from Cup Foods, from inside, outside Cup Foods, footage from Dragon Walk. So my corner's there. Footage from Dragon Walk, footage from the SA across the street, footage from bystanders at the SA across the street. Then we've got the city of Minneapolis was videotaping, and all of those cameras had a different perspective. And something that was pointed out in the trial, Genevieve Carlson, who if I could be friends with her, I would want to be friends with her. I like her spunk. I like her sass. She was the fireman, that firefighter. There we go. Gender neutral firefighter that was, off duty, walking down, and she really wanted to provide medical assistance. She really wanted to provide medical care because that was her job. And she's very proud of her job. And from her perspective, she could not see that there were 3 other people on George Floyd, because there was the car, you had the murderer kneeling on his neck, and then you had 3 other people kneeling on him as well and holding him down. So it was a fact that they were there. It was a fact that Miss Genevieve was there. It was a fact that what her camera angle perspective saw, and that doesn't make her camera angle any less valid. But in that moment, she did not have all the information. And it was not 100% to assess the exact medical needs, but she was absolutely 110% right about what needed to happen. And if everyone wasn't so scared of the murderer and got men with guns, Officer Tao, I think that's his name, Officer Tao, the accomplice. Oh, it was okay. So Officer Tao was there, and then two other people were on George Floyd. Sorry, I get confused. And then the park police were with George Floyd's friends, Maurice Hall, and then who was the woman that was in the car with him? I can't remember her name. Anyway, she was a witness for the prosecution. She wasn't really for the prosecution. She spoke the truth. It didn't matter. We all knew. And see, that's the thing in that high profile case, which is extremely important, landmark case, going to change the world. Let's not let George's death be in vain. For his family, for his kids, especially his little girl Gianna, for all of us, for all the black and brown kids out there, especially the young brown men. Let's not let that be in vain. Come on. Well, let's learn from that. So it's like, what are we doing as a society, as a community, to protect our community from predators? And I've often asked this question. Okay, so we have this legislature that makes laws. We have the police, who the police do not really prevent people from breaking laws. The legislation doesn't really prevent a lot of people from breaking laws. I mean, there could be a ton of studies done on that. I'm just going to generally give the opinion that, a law being in place does not necessarily prevent people from breaking it. And the laws that are very commonly broken, like harmless speeding, or I don't know, using your cell phone when you drive, those kinds of things, um, which isn't right and can be very, very dangerous, that people do regularly just think they're not going to get caught, because statistically speaking, they're not going to get caught unless you're black and brown. So, um, legislation, people that are going to break the law are going to break the law. People that are not going to break the law are not going to break the law. Um, because of morality and ethics, which is a whole philosophical conversation. But, legislation doesn't prevent people from breaking laws. Police do not prevent people. In some instances, yeah, they can if they're in the right place at the right time, but their job isn't designed to prevent the law. Their job is to respond to the community, to protect and serve, service with a smile, whatever the little motto is on the car. Who really cares? It's just paint on a vehicle. Um, there is such a thing as just having the presence. Police certainly have an authority, whether we like it or not. And having the presence of a police officer being armed with several deadly and dangerous weapons um, does cause people to get into check, just as when you might be driving down the road and you see a police officer, and you're turned back into 16 years old, and you checking all your blind spots and checking your rear view and making sure that you're doing everything right. The police can have that influence on people, can have that influence, but they don't prevent laws or prevent laws from being broken. So who does? Who does? And I don't have that answer. I don't. And I wish I did. Is it whose responsibility is it? Is it the government? Is it the people? And we know as a people, we do not agree. And even in the case of the vulnerable, abused, elderly children, I wish we could agree, but we don't agree. People that are more concerned with due process, with an alleged criminal's right for due process and their arrest and their bail and the conditions of their release, and um and I do believe in due process, but if someone's accused of harming a child and soliciting sex and tasering them in the back, and someone's going to come to their defense. Ugh. I like to call it stepped in it. you know and as another little rabbit trail, if you are doing self-defense and someone is walking away from you or has their back to you, rarely would you need to attack that person's back. If they have their back to you, you're not being restrained. In most circumstances, you're just going to be able to get away. So there's a real issue with that. And taser. Why would you taser someone in the back? Why would you chase someone with pepper spray? It's not really self-defense, especially pepper spray. Pepper spray is like you're up close and personal and you need to get away. You spray and you run. That's what you do. I have pepper spray. I hope I never ever have to use it. I have it for my protection. I'm not responsible enough to own a gun, and with my mental health history, nor should I be owning a gun, no matter how well I'm doing. So that's little tips on self-defense there. Attacking someone in the back. And then you want to say it's still self-defense. And then someone else is gonna come to that person's, with their logic and reason, and say that that could ever be a valid point. I mean, really? I mean, I don't get it. And I don't think anyone could ever explain it to me in any sort of a manner that I would actually agree with them. Because I have to divert my eyes away from certain pages about certain people. Let's say certain things. Point A. So these are all the things I can't talk about in detail. Because it's all trigger warning, content warning. And people like myself that are survivors of sexual abuse, it could trigger them. So I can't talk to anybody about it. I have like one coworker that I can talk to in detail about it. And I want to, and it's like, she can't be my constant person for every single feeling that comes up. I mean, I have therapy once a week. I can talk to my therapist about it. Our hour sessions are not long enough anymore. So I can't talk to anybody. And I don't think people know. And it's like even trying to tell the story and try to tell the narrative. I know I recently pieced together some emails and some different things I'd written because I was like, I can't explain what is going on, even in a high level overview, and give an entire picture of what I'm going through with what's been in the news and what I found out on my own and what's out there on the YouTubes. Because it might trigger someone else, because it might be hard for someone else. And I don't have very many friends that I can talk to. And I have a lot of friends that are really healthy people and, very, very active. And so they're busy. And so, people have things going on, which is extremely legit, but there's not that space. I don't know who is holding that space for me. I don't know where that space is. And I'm trying to find other women that are doing the same kind of activism that I'm doing, specifically for freedom from violence, specifically for women. And I'm getting closer to finding some people. Um, it's going to take some time and effort, and I've committed to about 5 hours a week of doing this work, and just really trying to track my time to let it be 5 hours. And that can take up space in my brain to do the activism piece of it. But I mean, as far as the emotional piece, and that's 168 hours a week for me. It's every second of every day. It's in my dreams. It's when I wake up and I go to sleep. It's going to work, having fun at work, but it's there. It's patterning my clothes, it's sewing. I mean, which is, that's what I want to do. When classes start again in 2 weeks, I'm taking 2 classes. Well, 3 classes. I'm taking pattern 2, second half of pattern, and then I'm taking resisting gender violence. So that'll be part of my, then it'll be 5 to 10 hours a week of this topic because I'll be taking that class. And hopefully I will. I'm pretty sure I'll find some allies, but hopefully I can find someone that I can really talk to about my activism work. So that will be more people in the class once I see who's in the class. And I'm taking some other classes just to build my business, build my brand. So doing a very scheduled semester and allocating my time. And yes, I have built into the calendar days and hours and breaks built in that I can take care of myself and breathe. Until then, I still feel isolated. I feel alone. Like I don't have anyone to talk to that I can really, really talk to. I don't know who to ask to just come sit with me. I mean, physically sit with me, not necessarily to even talk about it. I asked a friend, for a night out, something she was already doing just to be there. And, I was all set to go. And I just decided yesterday I'm not going to go because some shit happened and I was offended and I had a voice, and then later processed the response. And I was like, nope, I don't feel heard. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with people's bullshit. And yet, bullshit just keeps coming to me at work. My boss attempted to do something. I don't know. I guess I don't want to bring my work into this because I do work with vulnerable adults, and I am a vulnerable adult. But spending a lot of time with the law lately. I know how to look up laws. It's part of who I am, and it's part of my training as a teacher and as a work coordinator. So, yeah. Got the trustee. It's her 6th birthday today. And then 10-year anniversary of when my friend died. That just blows. It's not coming back. Try to predict, try to think about how she'd be reacting to the world now. And it's just, I can't even express my feelings with a friend group without offending somebody. I just can't say anything without offending anyone. Whoever is not watching this, I'm sure is offended with not watching it.